I would like to welcome Mr. Ben Breen to the stage. He is our special guest from PMI. He is Managing Director for Asia Pacific. He focuses on developing and executing PMI's growth strategy for this region. He's working closely with PMI partners and volunteers and his peers in the rest of the world. Ben has a broad range of skills gained over 25 years in the industry, including project management and engineering expertise. Originally from Australia, Ben moved to Singapore in 1994. Since then, he has supported or led hundreds of projects in the region. Ben is also Global Head of Construction in PMI and will be speaking about his personal experience having seen project management evolve over the past 25 years. And this will lead on to what PMI calls the project economy. How to future yourself for the new decade. Please, if you have any questions, do submit them via the Q&A box, not the chat box, and we shall welcome you. Ben, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Alicia. So very happy to be here today. That was a wonderful start with those magic tricks. I guarantee I'm not doing any tricks today. And look, thank you, Alicia and Harry and the team for just putting together such a wonderful event. And how great is this remote platform? I mean, to have these virtual breakout discussions and just to be able to get together in this way. This is a perfect example of being agile and just shifting quickly to adapt to the new environment. So it's wonderful. Just a little bit of background to myself first. As Alicia said, I am from Australia. I studied engineering, structural engineering, and moved across to Singapore in 1994. I thought it would be great to get some experience on some large construction projects and to travel around Asia, meet some wonderful people. And I managed to do that. I've been very happy with that. And one of those wonderful people that I met was, in fact, my now wife, and 3 children, and 26 years later, I'm still here. So look, I obviously love Singapore. I'm really privileged to be able to speak to you all here today. And I will be talking about the project economy and also just how to future-proof yourself for the new decade. So let me just share my screen. Great. Okay, let's get started. So I wanted to just start off with a quote from Darwin, which I think is just very, very relevant now. And that's, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. And this is exactly what we're seeing in this world now. So we've seen over the years many changes with things like technology coming into play, but then obviously more recently with COVID and the impact that has had. So if we talk about evolution, let's look at what does evolution mean to us. Now, sometimes it conjures up images such as this one. We've added another one in there to also demonstrate what technology can do as well. And let's talk about this in context. Talk about this dot on the map. Yes, this one. So Singapore, a small dot that's making a big contribution around the world. I think there's so many things that have changed in the last 10, 20 years. I just wanted to highlight a couple of those and just show you some differences and things that are going on. So the first one is really, if you look at things like the MRT stations, in 1990, we had about 42 different MRT stations. By 1999, there was 61. And now there is about 150 MRT stations. So it's just grown amazingly. And, I've personally had friends that have spent 25 years just working on the MRT development. So something to be really proud of. In fact, the land mass of Singapore is also increased. It's almost 10% growth with the land reclamation and things like that going on. A little bit similar to my waistline in that same period of time. And that might be due to the next thing that I want to raise, and that's the price of beer. So luckily, this is going in the other direction. This has been going down. When I first came here and it was $20 for a beer in some of the pubs, I thought there's no way I can stay here. Luckily, I found out that hawker centres and others are selling them at pretty reasonable prices. But as you can see, even in the pubs and the clubs and things like that, the price of the beer has gone from $20 to $14 to now happy hours, $7 to $10. So these are some of the things that are changing. I'd have to say there's one thing that's not changing, and that's that the taxi drivers still like to complain about the government. That'll never go away, no matter what happens. So if we now focus on how has project management changed throughout those years, you could argue, and particularly in something like construction, the industry that I'm in, that it hasn't fundamentally changed. There has been, you could argue that the process and systems are actually quite similar, but the one thing that is making a difference is technology. So I thought what I'd do is just talk to you about a couple of projects that I've been involved in and how the technology impacted those projects. So the first one was way back in the mid-90s. This is Woodland's design and build project, one of the first design and build projects for the Housing Development Board. We had to build 2,000 apartments. We had to gather our team of architects and engineers and builders. And in fact, the contractor for this project was China Construction. That was their very first project in Singapore. Now, we essentially ran that project with some very basic technology. Yes, we did use the fax, we used the pages, we used walkie-talkies. Then it was about this time that some of these new mobile phones were coming out, and you can see there the Motorola Dynatac 8000, which came out in '95. And that actually very much changed the way that we were working. So instead of sitting in your desk or the site office, we were able to get out on site and make phone calls, talk to the architects, talk to the concrete plant, for example, where we would call them and say, where's the next concrete truck? And they would say, on the way. And that meant they were just starting to mix it. That has really sort of changed the way that we worked even back then. And then a few years later, they came out with that Motorola Razr, and that was just amazing technology. You could fit it in your pocket. So that was on the first project. Then let's fast forward, say, another 20 years. I was privileged enough to work on the Marina Bay Sands project, doing the project management for the Sky Park. So that was all the external works, doing the landscaping and the timber decking and the stone and the stainless steel and glass and all those things. So we were essentially putting the icing on the cake. Amazing project, $5 billion development cost with, up to 25,000 workers involved. And I'd say the difference in technology is that we were able to use, one of them was a system called TENETS, which was an online collaboration tool that many of you will be familiar with. It's now been bought by Oracle, but that just enabled the client and the project manager and the builders and the subcontractors and everyone in the team to have one single source of truth, to have one information portal where all the data was, the most updated drawings and the most recent instructions and things like that. So that made a huge difference as well. And there was other technologies used like 4D modeling, which is 3D modeling with time added in. There was flat pack marble systems that were prefabricated and then brought to site to put into the hotel rooms. So some pretty amazing things. And just in a short period of time, it was very different to see the way that it was applied to the project. So technology in construction, every day there's some more amazing things coming out. This picture just shows on the left is a Microsoft HoloLens that enables sort of augmented reality. So you can put goggles on, you can walk through a project and see a finished product, or you could determine where there is a potential clash with services or structures. But you can also work remotely. So you might have a guy in Texas with one of these on and another guy in an oil rig in the Far East. And you could be talking through the engineering components just through this augmented reality. So it's just amazing. The second one just shows a big machine that's laying pavers in the thousands, sort of instant roads. So it's much faster and reduces the need for manpower. So then there's a little robot man that goes around and takes our job. So I just wonder whether people out there are concerned about technology taking over their job. I'll come back to that as well. So essentially what we're talking about here is taking it from evolution to revolution. There's no doubt that the technology that we've seen is already driving change at an unprecedented pace, and it's only going to get worse. It's going to get faster and faster. And if you look at, comparing the rate of growth in technology compared to that of individuals or organisations, it's obviously streets ahead. Now, there's some surveys that have been done. This is a McKinsey survey that talks about artificial intelligence and the impact it will have. And you can see here that the estimates are up to 400 to 800 billion people could be displaced in the next 10 years alone. That's just an amazing number. Now, that doesn't mean that all these people can retire, obviously. It does mean that they need to pivot, they need to reskill, and they need to work out what it is that is the most relevant skill. And that's something that PMI is definitely working very closely with our members to make sure that we're providing those skills for the future. And if you look at it from, you can see that yesterday the career paths were very hierarchical, as you can see here, whereas now it's more about working in a network of teams. And people now, or companies now, are really hiring based on how somebody fits into a project team rather than a specific position. And 79% of executives agree that the future of work will be based more on these specific projects rather than roles. So essentially the world is becoming projectified. Here is another key piece of information, again from McKinsey, in determining what are the most useful skills in the future. And project management rates very highly there. It's number 3 on the list and continuing to grow. And it's up there with critical thinking and creativity and leadership, which I would argue are also part of project management skills. And these skills are going to be even more in demand in future than they are now. And PMI really has long talked about the fact that change in organisations occurs through projects and people bringing these skills into those projects. So on that note, I'd like to introduce you to the project economy. So welcome to the project economy. And this is essentially where sticking with the status quo is just not enough anymore. And if I can, Alicia, I'll just get you to play a short video here. That got a little bit cut off at the end there, but hopefully you could see what the project economy was about. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, so essentially you are going to be hearing a lot more about the project economy in the years ahead. And really what we see by the project economy is to have, or individuals to have the right skills and the right mindset to turn their ideas into reality. And PMI again is doing our best to support that project economy. So we've talked about the fact that the world's becoming projectified and that technology is having an even bigger influence. But the fact is the most cutting edge technology is useless without the right people to run it. And that's where, you know, the strength of people and their ability to interpret and use that technology for the better is something that won't go away. So we don't even know what the next big change is going to be, whether that's technology or another COVID-19 that comes along and just changes everything that we're doing. So the fact is that organisations need project leaders who can embrace the shifts and the turns and anticipate what's coming next. So we ran a survey that went out to millions of people, in fact, and that was really asking the question about what are the skill sets that they believe was important in what they're doing and will be even more important in future. So you can see here that the top one is technical skills. So yes, you still need to be technically savvy and know what your job is. Leadership skills, customer centricity. I think the customer centricity, too many people ignore that at their own peril. So that's critically important. You know, business skills and strategies, and the technical skills, the digital skills that we've talked about as well. There are two more that I'd like to add there, and that's because on Tuesday, PMI had what we call the global event series, or virtual event series, and our special guest this month was Trevor Noah from The Daily Show. He was a wonderful speaker, and he brought in two of his skills that he thought were important, and they were stay calm, because he's saying that right now the default is chaos. And the second one was just trust your team. You know, you're working remotely, your team is there because you've brought them in, or they're part of the company that are contributing. Just trust them, don't micromanage them. So when he ended up and said, stay calm and trust your team, and I thought that's definitely got to be a t-shirt, doesn't it? So essentially, the future starts now. I don't know if you can see that guy at the bottom, the little kid at the bottom of the steps about to jump up in the world. So the future does start now. And again, we have been running our surveys. Every year we do something that's called the Pulse of the Profession, and that goes out to our database of about 3 million project managers. And it tells you what are the key elements, the key risks that they see in the future, not just in project management, but significant impacts in whatever it is around the world. So from that, we came up with 3 tenets, 3 key things. And the first of those is that ability is agility. So again, it doesn't matter how brilliant the strategy is. If that gets disrupted by something new, then it's out the window. What are you going to do next? So you need to make sure that you can fail fast and pivot. And my colleague, Mark Lyons, will be talking about discipline agile later on. And he has another spin on that failing fast element. So I'm sure he'll talk about that. So our research actually showed the importance of agility is the most important factor in today's world. The second tenet is that tech rules, but people influence. Again, back to, yes, you need to understand what's going on. You need to know that you have to be technically savvy, and but you need to be able to interpret that technology, or interpret the information you're getting, and make sure that you're using technology for your benefit. And if you look at that, combining technical know-how and knowledge gets things done. And as project managers, that's one of the great things that we're able to do. That's to get things done no matter what. And the third tenet is it's a project leader's world. So this one is a bit of a pet hate of mine, in that you could be the best technical project manager out there. The most, your CV, it just reads beautifully. But if you're not able to communicate well, get your message across, if you're not able to motivate teams and motivate yourself, then you're not going to be successful. So as a leader, you have to make sure that you're doing exactly those things. So these are, you could say, the new ways of working. And to summarize here, you need to double down on agile, you need to leverage technology, exercise the new power skills, and stay focused on the customer. So you've got those great skills. We've talked about the fact that the world's becoming projectified. And last year, in fact, PMI turned 50. And we thought it'd be a great idea to celebrate that by determining what were the best 50 projects in that amount of time. Big picture projects here. Did they defy expectation? Did they transform the industry? Did they change the culture or the way that we do things now? For example, imagine the world without mobile phones. I know that my children definitely couldn't, because I've tried. Imagine that there was not a cure for polio. Something close to my heart, because a very good friend of mine worked on that project for many, many years. So these are the sort of big things that we're talking about. And again, I will just show you a short video on this as well. Great. Hope you enjoyed that. I wonder whether anyone managed to pick the number one. It certainly was difficult to choose between so many wonderful projects. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the Changi Airport Group. Hopefully they're listening today, but they made it into the infrastructure top 10 for such an amazing airport that you're all very familiar with. So I just want to finish off today and talk about the construction industry and the enablement that PMI is trying to affect here. And my role, as well as looking after the Asia Pacific region, is as global head of construction. So what that means is I want to work with project managers in the construction industry all around the world to improve the way that they're working and to make sure that the outcomes of projects gets better. Now, that's a big call, I know, I understand that. So what we did is we started off by just interviewing a lot of our partners and our members and really understanding what are the pain points for them in construction. So we went through, there was some amazing statistics to start off with. For example, for every $1 billion spent, there is $127 million wasted. ridiculous numbers. And imagine what we can do with that type of money in terms of just training and improving the way that things are done. 73% of projects are over budget, and 90% of mega projects overrun, resulting in claims or disputes. And this is a big one. Profit margins are shrinking. And there really was no consistency with process and terminology around the world. I know when I came over from Melbourne, I had to learn a lot of new terms and process of how to deliver things. That was on top of having to learn words locally, like, you know, makan and chunkle and batu and all these sort of things that I had to put in there as well. So that was difficult. So really the idea for us is to come up with essentially a global construction management course that addresses these key challenges. We would be able to develop innovative learning methods and best practice. And the fact of our scale means that being in more than 200 countries, if we're able to bring a best practice methodology and process and terminology to the construction industry, we do genuinely believe that we can make an impact. And we hope to think, or we like to think, that we'd be able to revolutionise the construction industry in doing exactly that. So that is the end of my presentation today. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Happy for you to reach out to me. In fact, the last thing on the construction segment, we will be sending out a survey to our 60,000 odd PMP in construction and getting their feedback. But contact me separately if you're interested to get involved. I'd like to thank you for everything that you do for the profession, and on behalf of PMI, let's go and change the world together. Thank you very much. So I'll just check if we have any time for Q&A. So I'll hand back to Alicia.
Yes, definitely. There's a very good question from Rama. Can you give more insights about Projectified, please?
If you're talking about the project economy itself, so it's essentially what we're looking for is, or we're seeing the change that's occurring, and the fact is that these changes occur whether you like them or not. You're talking about the Projectified tool. I would have to actually defer that to somebody else, because ironically, I'm not all that familiar with it, unfortunately. So we'll have to get back to you separately on that one, Rama.
PMI has a lot of different initiatives. It's actually quite a plethora out there, and everything is on the website. And Rama, we will reach out to you about that.
Yeah, in fact, there's so many new initiatives at the moment, which is great. I mean, we're seeing that we need to change. People are giving us feedback about certain things. You're probably aware that the PMP exam is changing in January as well. We're realising it's important to be more agile and look at different ways of doing things, and that's what we're doing. I can see a question here about BIM changes in construction industry. Now, obviously, BIM has been around for a long time, and it was fantastic just the other night listening to the Singapore chapter, and that was a topic talking about BIM in the London Underground and how that was used to just coordinate at such a detailed level to all the myriad of tunnels and systems and services that are running through there. Specifically, we haven't seen a huge change in BIM, and it's a wonderful tool. And I think if that can be incorporated more into other tools, I think it will help that in stepping up to the next level. Because whilst there is tweaks to BIM, there's no fundamental changes. Now, I'm not saying there has to be a fundamental change, but I do think that needs to be looked at in addressing some of the newer issues that are happening at the moment. I can see another question there about agile practices in construction. Now, agile I'll be the first to admit that it's not, it's come out of the IT industry. It doesn't lean itself immediately to construction. But what you find is that if you are introducing agile methodologies, I mean, I've used lean on a lot of the construction projects with, daily daily meetings and you know, just making sure that there are you understand the critical path and you're determining what can be done separately, and you're creating whatever needs to be created in parallel with the critical path, and then you are dovetailing that in at the right time. And effectively that in its own is an agile practice. And I think if we can bring in more agile methods to how we work together and communicate, and then I think that will certainly help in construction. So we're still going to be traditional, you know, waterfall types of methods in construction, but there is elements of agile that we can bring into that. Just looking down, you shared about technology influencing project management. Any views on what and how we can adopt such technology? Look, I think here the message is that it's not about the technology, because something new and fantastic will come along every day. So it's really about how we can use that and understand the benefits in delivering the outcome that you are trying to deliver. You know, that's still your ultimate goal. These are just enablers to enable you to be better at what you do. Hopefully, make it more efficient and faster to finish your projects. And again, talking about finishing them to a high quality and being able to finish on time. So these are things that technology can help us with. You look at things like defects management, which is something that's very tedious in going around one by one and ticking off something and taking a photo and putting it in an Excel spreadsheet. You know, there's now software that enables you to take a photo, upload it, put it into your iPad, and it's already there. It tracks when it's been changed, when it's been updated. So these are just simple things, but they actually make quite a big difference in the construction industry.
I think we could try to take these other questions offline.
Sure.
So we will store these questions and get back to everyone. Thank you very much, Ben, for your wonderful presentation on the project economy through the lens of PMI.